Hashem, because it says it brings shashuim gdolim lefanav yizbach. It brings great pleasure and delight to Hashem. I'm going to get my scarf. I'm just really cold. One second. It's really cold. You know, it's not really cold. It's a little chilly. It's a little cool. The reason why I'm correcting myself and saying it's cold is because I could easily sleep and live and have no problem in this room, because I remember Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter says that the Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter, when describing the extreme poverty of Breslover Hasidim in Uman, he describes how people lived in such cold in the winter, the Ovdim, like they really had no money for anything, they couldn't heat the homes, and so there were icicles hanging inside of the house, inside the one-room house. So it's not cold, it's just a little cool, pleasantly cool in this office right now. Okay, let's see. Where is the poem? I'm not sharing it. I don't have liberty to share it. It was sent to me by a student, but it was very delightful. And I'm just saying that if me as just like a friend, if it made me so happy to see how with such pshitas and tmimis, with such simplicity and purity and good intentions, she learned something and then expressed a desire, a plea to Hashem to help her carry it out into practice. It made me so happy. So I can't imagine, the Borei who knows the hearts of everyone and the thoughts of everyone. I'm sure that it's like nothing more delightful as this. Now, next. Now we're up to item number 16. Remember, we're still talking about one day. This is the Seder Yom. This is Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter Seder Yom, which means that every day is supposed to contain some elements of all of these things. Now, again, don't get beset by riboyor. We're not looking to blow anybody's fuses. That's not the point. The idea is that these are guidelines for fulfilling and magnifying the holiness available to us in the course of the day, and to realize and recognize what's available to us. And so we have many, many beautiful elements that are part of Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter's order of the day. Shiurim Kvuim. Did we do this? Shiurim Kvuim? No, I don't think so. Shiurim Kvuim. Yeah. Because he had put earlier learning some, he had put before then, I think it's Yud Gimel, learning from Rebbe Nachman's works. But here he's not talking about only learning from Rebbe Nachman's work. He's talking about making a Seder Halimud, an order of learning. Here, yeah, that's 13. So that we did, but now he's talking about making a regular order of study. And he had spoken about halacha, right? Shulchan Aruch was a separate thing. Learning some halacha every day, that we did speak about. And then we spoke about, and then he brought up learning specifically Rebbe Nachman's books, at least a little bit every day, even if it's only a little bit. And then Shiurim Kvuim. Yikabalo b'limud haTorah, v'yilmod b'simcha, v'lo yafsik b'limud b'dvarim she'enam muchrachim mod. He says a person has to fix for himself what it is that he is going to study, and times also to study. V'yilmod b'simcha, and to learn with joy. V'lo yafsik b'limud dvarim she'enam muchrachim mod. Not to interrupt stam unless it's very, very necessary. V'chavein shizkei yidei limud le'emunah shlema. And one should have intent, and one's goal or one's objective should be that the learning should bring us to emunah shlema. First of all, we have a whole bunch of things here to define. Yikba, the idea of doing something kavua, doing something regularly, or at not only fixed intervals, but fixed amounts. So kviyut, it says in Pirkei Avot, al taseh tfilatcha keva el rachami v'tachanun. Prayer is not meant to be fixed. Now, we have fixed times for prayer, but it means you shouldn't be rigid, overly rigid, in the way one prays. Rather, one should have an attitude of supplication and begging for mercy. Rachamim v'tachanunim. However, when it comes to study, it says aseh toratcha keva. You should make your Torah study keva, fixed. Meaning that in order to make sure not to let a day go by without learning something. You have to make time for it. I just had a student now who left. She used to learn every week. She used to come and learn every week. She's a private student. And she came every week and, we learned together for a long time. And then she moved out of town and she got very busy because she had, school, at school, and she has a new job, and she's anyway living out of town, so we haven't had a chance to learn in a long time. And she got in touch with me to ask me something, I don't know, last week, and she said, I really miss learning. So I said, okay, so next time you're coming to Shalim and you want to learn, so give me a call. I'll see if we can make time, even if you can't do it on a regular basis. So hop around if you're here and you can, and I can, so why not? So she came and she popped in today. Now, the truth is that I didn't, normally on Sundays, I wouldn't have had time, but I wound up having to totally overturn my schedule. It turned out for no reason at all, because someone tried to make an appointment. I couldn't get out of that appointment. I wound up turning everything over in order to be able to, accommodate that appointment, and they switched the time on me. So everything got out of joint, and instead of having my regular 3 to 4 student, I wound up having this appointment. So things got all out of whack. In any case, so I said to her, everything is out of joint anyway. So if you're in your shop, so you want to learn, come along. So she jumped over, and we were able to grab an hour, and we were able to learn. Now, grabbing. So what's the first thing she said when she came in? She said, it's like I needed like oxygen. Months have gone by. I haven't learned. Now she's teaching a little bit, so she has to have learned something. But to actually like sit down and really to really just like learn something that you need for yourself, as opposed to preparing a lesson. And maybe she's not even using that much Torah material for those lessons because she's working with students who can't really learn inside. So, the idea of having a kviyut in something, that it's like you do this every day, or you meet once a week, or you have a chavruta, you're learning together with somebody this particular time, and you're kavua with it, and you're covering this sefer, and you don't move around. You work through one thing to the other, not flying all over the place. That's called kviyut. Now, kviyut, even though we have specified and fixed times for prayer, it's true, but the whole nature of prayer is supposed to be more, like we'll say, flowing and open, and so therefore the attitude of prayer shouldn't be one of rigidity. However, a person who wants to actually be able to accomplish and to I would say, like, to really be able to move forward in their Torah study, they do have to be kavua about things. They do have to make commitments, or kavua in the sense of making a commitment. So Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter is telling us in Limud HaTorah that it's good to make a kviyut. Rebbe Nachman in Sichot Aran, I'm not bringing a lot of other supplementary material because we only have this week and next. So I'm just going to tell you from outside. In Sichot Aran, I think it's Sicha 19, something like that, over there, 18, 19. So Rebbe Nachman says, he says, why don't you learn? Like, he gets very, a little bit facetious. Like, what do you lose by learning? Make yourself a kviyut. And he even says, I wish that I could, if I could have my way, there would be a Seder for learning certain books, as he said 200 years ago, a kavua, a fixed and orderly way of moving through major Torah works, so that all the Jewish people could work through them together at the same pace, and therefore it would help everybody, it would be beneficial and encouraging for everybody to be working at the same pace through the books. Of course, Rabbi Nachman did not live to see this accomplished, but it was accomplished later by the institution of Daf Yomi, and Daf Yomi spread off into Halacha Yomit, and then there's the Chot Shabbat Yomit, and all of these different variations of books. And we'll say the laboratories, they do chitas, they have a Seder Kavu Hayom Yom, they have like a certain learning that you do every day, and that order is actually very important for keeping us in a state of forward motion in our Torah study, because it's like my student said, if you're not kavua, then you find yourself, who knows how much time can go by, and you will have missed the boat, so to speak. Like, all that time can pass without learning because you don't have a solid time commitment and also what you're doing commitment. Yilmod b'simcha, of course, it's not the problem of a kviyut. Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter, in his own inimitable way, what he does is says, okay, even though it's kavua, right? Even though aseh toratcha keva, it doesn't mean with rigidity and tension, because it's just to make sure that you have a proper structure. But the structure itself shouldn't have any negative impact on your simcha, on the vitality, spontaneity, love, joy that you have in your learning. And you don't stop in the middle, right? Unless you really have to, because there's nothing like to do something bishlemut, to do something complete. I forgot who said. It's like there's nothing more powerful than a davar shalem. Now, even though we have this famous statement of there's nothing more whole than a broken heart, and that's true, but nevertheless, it's like the Satan is okev, is megare b'davar shalem. It's like when you want to, I don't know, it's like the Sitra Achor never likes you to finish something to completion, you know? And so the fact that we're working against, that when we make a kaviyut, when we make commitments to do a certain amount of learning, certain amount every day, whatever it might be, we can anticipate there are going to be obstacles to such a thing, because it's really a very powerful and important thing. And that's why it's not supposed to be interrupted. And that's why you should be kavua about it. You should be fixed about it and be careful to keep up that commitment, because it really is something very powerful and important. Because let's think about it. Even if you're only going to spend 5 minutes a day learning through, I don't know, pick a sefer, any sefer, Mesilat Yesharim. So, or I'll pick something. Not everybody loves so much to learn the Musa works. I don't know. I love the Musa works, and you need the Musa works, but let's say Talmud Dvar. I'm teaching Talmud Dvar now. So you say every day I'm doing a page, right? It doesn't matter how much it takes me. It could take me a minute. It could take me 5 minutes. It could take me 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. A page. So we know that this is the nature of time. It's just like if you just keep doing a page a day, eventually you're going to finish this book, right? And then you will say, "Oh, I have been through." I feel like I am nicely familiar and I'm a good friend of this and this sefer. It's the same thing with saying a certain amount of Tehillim every day. It's the same thing with saying, learning a little bit of this halacha or that halacha a day, right? Is that even though it seems like it's not a lot, even if it's only 2 halachot or it's only 5 minutes here, if I have a kviyut about it, like if I'm really, really regular and committed, I will finish it, right? And that's the wondrous thing, is because it really the davar shalem, to finish something out and to complete it, to be misayem, to complete it out, it's such a big thing. Now let's see. And one should have a kavanah, that should be our focus and our intent, that through this learning we should come to emunah shlema. Emunah shlema, what does it mean to have emunah shlema? What is emunah shlema? That's a good question. I have to define the term. What does it mean to have complete faith? So I last week in class, I went over a letter from the Balatanya. And in it he uses some terminology. It's very, very amazing. Well, I don't have it with me because it's with my stuff for school. But wait a second. Maybe I do have it here. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. Found it. Wow, what a nice. Okay, here. This is a letter that here. This is from one of the students of the Balatanya, not the Balatanya himself. Yeah. He said, "I'm writing this letter here." This is a segment that has to do with the difference of opinion between the Chassidim and the Misnagdim at the beginning of the conflict between at the beginning of the Hasidic movement. But here, listen, my beloved friend. Nit zog chas v'shalom as das is apikorsis. One should not say that this is, as the Misnagdim did, that this is apikorsis, that to believe that mamish everything is filled with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's glory. There's no place that's empty of Him. Hashem is with us. Iti v'etzli tamid. These are concepts in Kabbalah and Chassidus that Chassidus only started to popularize, and there was some backlash against speaking about it in such a way. So don't say that this belief that everything has godliness, right? Is chas v'shalom apikorsis. Rak zog, das is emunah shlema. Rather, you should say it's emunah shlema, through which slumbering souls can be awakened, and dry bones zolem margish zayin elokim chayim, through which the sleeping and dormant and dead Jewish people can come to life again and start to feel the living God is with them. Alle Hasidim haben die Emunah. All Hasidim have this belief. Okay. Now, so what is it? This Talmud of the Balatanya. So what does he say? As Emunah Shlema means. What is Emunah Shlema? Like, I'm just superimposing this on Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter when he says that one should merit that the limud, that the study should bring one to emunah shleima. It means to know that Hashem is iti ve'etli, that Hashem is right here with me, that Hashem is right here, not closer than my breath, closer than the blood in my veins. He's right here with me in everything that I do. He hears every word that I utter. He's with me every word that I utter. And that will give me highest, incredible vitality in my Torah study, and never could it be dry, and never could it be never could it be boring, and never it could not engage me because it is bringing me to emunah shlema. And a person should really work to derive practical, good, correct etzot, pieces of advice. That means to say pathways of guidance practically in how I'm living and how I'm being from to serve Hashem through Torah study. That means to say it shouldn't just be theoretical. Yeah, Chana Siegel says about the kviut. Everything is very nice and organized. And yeah, without following a kviut, it's like you can't really accomplish anything. And you could have a big or, people get very enthusiastic, but then what do you have? You build kalim, you build vessels by actually following through, even if it means only a little bit every day, a little bit every day. That's really what builds. Now, the thing that I love here is that when he says etzot nechonot, he would be very careful about his language. He says the implication is that you really need to work hard when learning Torah to come out to derive good pieces of advice, means correct pieces of advice from it, as opposed to incorrect pieces of advice from it. And that's something that, of course, is very important, because you can, it says, tzadikim yelchu bam uposhim yikashlu bam, right? The righteous walk in them. Yisharim darchei Hashem, right? That's what it says in the pasuk. The ways of God are straight. Tzadikim yelchu bam, the righteous walk in them. Uposhim yikashlu bam, and the wicked, they stumble in them. Now, the ways of Hashem are the Torah itself, right? That's the Torah. We have not seen it that it's possible that a person could open up a book, learn something, and actually come out with some kind of like a twisted idea of what this means, and then try and throw this on somebody else or on themselves, impose it upon somebody else or themselves in a way that's completely not befitting the spirit and the true intention of the Torah itself. And people do stuff like this all the time. I mean, I probably don't have to give you too many examples, but you find all kinds of twisted stuff comes out of people's mouths, and you say, where'd you get that from? And they'll quote you chapter and verse, they'll quote you from Sfarim, and you look at them and say, but this is not the Eitzah. Like, this is not the way that you do things. If you spoke to somebody with a das Torah, if you spoke to somebody with a real Torah perspective on things, they wouldn't tell you to do it this way. You came out, you sat there and learned, and you came out with Eitzot lo nechonot. And it can happen. So if Yitzchok Breiter is telling us you have to really do a lot of work internally, and also in refining one's understanding and one's openness to hearing the truth from Hashem, to come out with stuff that's practical and that's real and that's based in truth and reality, because people can go on all kinds of trips and come up with all kinds of ideas, because we really want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu as He wants us to from the limud. V'gam yichadesh b'Torah, a person should also say novel things in the Torah. Now, maybe we did do this last time. Wait, I think we did do this. I feel like now I'm going over it again. Because I kind of felt like we spoke about Chidushim D'Oraita, that sometimes it has to do with coming up with a novel Torah idea, which can be possible, but sometimes it's just that it's new for me, or it makes me feel renewed. I'm pretty sure that I said that last time. So now I'm going to skip forward. That means to say, you don't just make things up out of thin air. Don't just make up pilpulim dishtus, which people do, but make sure that you have a good, solid basis in what you're saying. And that will help you come close to Hashem, truly. And that will help also others come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, 17. Achila. Oy, eating. Yochal b'mesinus v'derech eretz. One should eat slowly and with proper derech eretz. Now, derech eretz, why is he talking about derech eretz? Because there's like all kinds of laws of derech eretz b'seudah. There are actual halachot about what's considered to be proper behavior around food. So, and it's interesting because the laws of derech eretz are not necessarily like what your grandmother said. Your grandmother said that the small fork goes on the outside. Like you have all kinds of that's and in terms of the halachot of derech eretz, it's not necessarily about like the fine tuning and the refinements of external stuff having to do with the food. Although that is also there is something to it. But there's a whole other level of derech eretz around eating, which is it's a very deep thing. When I went to, I used to spend Shabbos sometimes with my Rebbetzin Osman, Shishlim me well, and I still remember having a Shabbos meal with him, and she sat at the table with her husband, Rav Isaac Osman, Zichron Mizracha, who was a very great Torah scholar, and we would sit at the table, and I remember once. She said after we were cleaning up, she said, I don't know, like eating chicken. She said in Yiddish, but I'm not gonna say it. She said, yeah. So I don't know how he manages to clear the bone without ever touching food. He manages to clean the bone, but only with the fork and the knife. And I remember when she said it, I thought there was something very endearing about how she admired his particular derech eretz around food, which may have been above and beyond what would be considered to be, anything. She said, so she said, but because if you're not going to touch your food, so what happens? You also wind up a little bit baltashris over there because it's very hard to actually eat all of the parts of a piece of chicken, and not to waste it. Holocaust survivors are careful about things like this. So, so she said. He manages to clear the bone, but never ever touch a piece of food, and like with a lot of admiration. Now, derech eretz is like there's a lot of stuff that we're not sensitive to anymore at all, with regards to the laws of the Suda, like not eating in the middle of a meal or not looking in someone else's plate. That's a law of derech eretz. It's a halacha of derech eretz at the Suda, not to look at someone else's plate, not to see how much they have taken, not to see how much they ate, didn't eat, didn't take, what they didn't take. All that stuff is considered to be an infringement on their privacy, and a kind of unpleasant pressure and a lack of tzniut at the table to go looking into somebody else's plate, make them feel uncomfortable also. So for any number of reasons. So we have like all kinds of derech eretz during achila. Aside from, we could go on endlessly on it. So anybody who's interested about it, there's probably books. I mean, there are halachas that are brought down, but in Sfarim we do have the halacha. But I don't know if anybody really knows them so well. Some things we get it, we understand without much, without necessarily being told. But some things might be a little bit more refinements that we don't know. V'lo yichas. What does it mean to eat? Right? Because eating is part of the daily schedule. Mitinut, not to rush. With derech eretz, meaning according to all of the laws of the halachas of derech eretz. Lo yichas, not to eat in anger. Lo yidaber az diburim she'enam muchachim, not to talk about things you don't have to talk about. V'yilmod al shulchano, to make sure to learn or speak Torah at least at the table once one has already, while you're in the middle of the Seudah Mamash. V'yivarech b'chat hamazon b'simcha v'chana, and to bless, to say b'chat hamazon, to bless in joy, and so on. Ubazeh yamshich alav he'arat haratzon, and this will help to draw onto oneself he'arat haratzon. Now, this is actually based on lesson 65 in the Kutei Moharan, this idea of the time of eating being especially appropriate to feeling what we call he'arat haratzon, an illumination of the will. The illumination of the will is is, Rabbi Nachman describes there, is like this state of just feeling wanting for Hashem, which is something we don't often allow ourselves time to feel. And so Rabbi Nachman says that b'sha'at achila, it's specifically at the time of eating, that it is possible for a person to arouse this within themselves, to give themselves a moment to feel it. And so when you have food in front of you, it's a great opportunity when we have something to eat or to drink in front of us before we start eating or drinking it, to allow ourselves just to feel, like when you have, I don't know, a nice cup of coffee in the morning in front of you, if you drink coffee. So, and you haven't had anything else yet today, and who knows when you're going to be eating something else, because it's just your cup of coffee, but you have a whole life. So like you have this nice hot cup of coffee in front of you, and you want to have a drink of it. And so the body wants, and so this feeling of the body wanting can be, I'm not going to call it sublimated, because that's like a very Freudian term. So I'm not going to call it sublimation. That's a psychological term. We'll call it uplifted, right? So the uplifting of the feeling of physical desire for something, which is actually like you feel it in your body, you feel it. So to take that feeling and just sit with it for a second and allow myself just to feel, what does it mean to want something? What does it feel like in the body to want? And I want. And he said the highest level to get to is just I want. I don't even know what I want. It means I'm not even specifying what I'm doing with this want. I'm just allowing myself to feel want, to feel yearning for something. And of course, the kisufin should be uplifted until I'm feeling with sonot tovim with Hashem. Like when I say I want, I don't even know what I want. It means I want Hashem. I just can't even express what it is that I want, but I know that I want to come close to Him. And so one should do this act of uplifting, which some would call a kind of sublimation, but it's not really that. It's like this is a very deep eitzah, al pi Chassidus, al pi Kabbalah, of making use of the physicality so that we can transfer its sensations into the realm of spirituality and have it work for us. So instead of it being about the cup of coffee, okay, I'll get to the cup of coffee. I'm going to have you soon. Soon I'll drink you. But let me just sit here for a second and just feel what it is to want something and allow myself to experience it and direct it higher. Even though I will have the cup of coffee, but I can wait on the cup of coffee a minute while I'm just experiencing this want. So this is a very deep idea, which Rebbe Nachman discusses at greater length in Be'ez ha'ochel geshialom, Be'im rabo azavut. My memory is that's where it is. I think it's discussed in another lesson as well, but I'm pretty sure that that's where it is, about Ha'arat ha'ratzon at the time of eating. היינו כיסופין ורצונות טובים ללך בדרכי השם. וכן בכל הנאותיו ומעשיו, יכוון שיהיה כרצונו יתברך, ויהיה נעשה ייחוד קודשא בריחו שכינתי, על ידי אכילתו והנאותיו ומעשיו. So he kind of lumps together now eating, the experience of all physical pleasures, and then everything else that you're doing. That should always be bound up with my awareness and my connection with Hashem. And that's called making a yichud. Yichud, this language of, make yichudim. Who makes yichudim already? Who does aliyos? Who makes yichudim? Only tzaddikim do this act of spiritual unification, except that it's not so, because we know that when the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh had a vision, it was right Rosh Hashanah. He had a vision. It's described it's brought down in Keser Shem Tov, but it's like all written out very nicely, neatly, and it's very, it's like for Hasidim, it's especially for the Lubavitcher Hasidim, it's a very, very, very potent message, right? It says, Asamar. Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh testifies that he had a vision, and he was brought to the heavenly chamber of Mashiach, where the soul of Mashiach awaits its revelation. And he asked, when are you going to come? He asked Mashiach, the soul of Mashiach, when will you arrive? And the soul of Mashiach answered him, when your teachings, when your well springs will spread outward, that means to say your teachings have to get out into the world. And that's something everybody usually knows. Everybody's any contact with Chassidus, that one they've heard. But the end of the statement is not necessarily everybody has heard, because it sounds on the surface to be a little bit discouraging. And when people will do, aliyot v'yichudim kamotcha, when when people will do aliyot, which means soul ascent, and yichudim, supernal unifications, like you do. Now, one of the reasons why that second part of the statement is a little bit left out, because like who does aliyot and yichudim like the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh? Nobody except the Baal Shem Tov. So like, what does that mean? Mashiach won't come, chas v'shalom, because we're not holding at the level of the Baal Shem Tov, no matter how much his teaching spread. So how are we supposed to be able to do aliyot and yichudim kamotcha? Rabbi Nachman actually gave us an answer to this, because he told his students, I want you to be kamoni mamish. It's a very interesting phrase. And in fact, among Breslover Chassidim, so it's a very well-known phrase, kamoni mamish. I want you to be just like me, mamish, just like me. Now, we look at that and we say, what do you mean kamot chamamish? Like, nobody's going to be just like you. I mean, even Rebbe Nachman didn't. He said he couldn't fill your shoes, and so we never had another Rebbe. So who's going to be just like you? And it's that itself, the fact that he used that phrase was because he wanted to teach us something. He says, when you activate the holiness, your potential for holiness that's within you, which is your own particular nekudas tzaddik, like that's the highest part of you. When you activate that, that's called kamoni mamish. That's called being just like me. Now, we say, but my activation of my nekudas tzaddik is like it's compared to Rebbe Nachman, compared to who you were, it's so minuscule. It's infinitesimal. But that was the point of the teaching. He says, no, you have a nekudas tzaddik when you activate it and you're living it, and and it is being brought into from potential into actuality. So that's called kamoni mamish. You on your level, being the person that you are, have fulfilled your tzaddik potential. That's called kamoni. So it helps us to look back now 3 generations earlier, when the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, when he heard from Mashiach, from the soul of Mashiach, when am I going to come? I'm going to come when the Jewish people are doing soul ascents and yichudim, divine unifications, like you do. Then I'm going to come. Only with the understanding of kamoni mamish does it start to make sense. Everybody has the level of yichud, of yichudim, aliyos also, and yichudim, that is unique to them, that's suitable for them on their level. And that means that even if I'm just having a cup of coffee, I heard this also from a morning stretch, well. It's like I'm eating a piece of bread, right? It's very simple. Like, I don't have kavanas, like deep kavanas, like the mukubalim and the tzaddikim about bread and living off of the letters and the divine light that's in the bread. I'm just a simple person. Nevertheless, I put my 10 fingers on my piece of bread, right? And I have in mind, I have 10 words of the bracha, and there are 10 tikkunim b'pat, 10 different stages of repair, let's say, of the until the grain came to be this piece of bread in front of me, right? And I think when I make my bracha, I say hamotzi lechem haaretz. It's such a big thing, because Hashem gave me grain, and the truth is, somebody planted that grain and then reaped it. Like the fact that I say it's Hashem who gave me the bread. He's motzi lechem min haaretz. No, at the most on the physical plane, he's only motzi grain from the earth. Human beings make bread. God makes grain, and human beings make bread. However, when I say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, I'm acknowledging that every step of the way and every single act that a human being put into the creation of this piece of bread, right? That I'm holding in my hands right now, all 10 stages of its preparation. Who did it all? Even though human beings play their part, who did it? Hashem did it. And when I have that in my mind, when I make the bracha, like for me, this is a yichud. This is called a yichud, because I'm not allowing any bit of this bread, not a single molecule of it, not a single particle of it. I'm not letting it be something that just happened or that people did. I'm having it be something that's part of the totality of Hashem's involvement with the world. That's how it is in my mind and my heart, and that's how it is when I'm eating my bread. And so if I do that, then it means that on my level, I'm making what Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter says is a yichud, kutshu brichu shchinte. I'm making a divine unification of the Holy One and His Shekhinah. That means to say the absolute of the divine and also His revealed presence in the world of action. I'm bringing that together, and that's called a yichud, a unity, a unification. And I can do that by eating my piece of bread, even though I'm a very simple person. V'hana'otav. And this is also true of any kind of pleasure that you're indulging in, whether it's going to be you're eating dinner, or you're having a drink, or you're going for a walk, and you say Marabu Masach Hashem, and Ma'asav, and also all the actions that we do. Okay, so all of this is part of the big picture of yichud, which everybody does on their level, based on who they are, where they are and what they know, what they feel. That's called Yehudim Kmotcha. Okay, let's go on. Masao Matan o Malacha, doing business or having a trade. So presumably after you've done all of your avodah of the night and all of your avodah of the morning, and you had all kinds of, and you ate your breakfast, right? You already did a lot of learning, and you said Tillim, and you said you have like a whole beautiful Seder of the Boker of the morning, and now it's time to go out to work. Masa umatan umlacha. Lasot be'emunah zochin al yidei shmitchaskim be'emunah hashkacha pratis. What does it mean to do business be'emunah? One of the questions that a person is asked after they leave this world is, did you do Masa Umatan Bemuna? Masa Umatan Bemuna means literally, did you do your business in good faith? What does it mean, business in good faith? If I own a store, right? We were just learning about this in school today. It's like the Torah tells, we were talking about business practices, right? So it's like, what passes for normal business practices in the world is like so antithetical to Torah sometimes. It says, Lifnei Iver lo titin mechshol. We were looking about it today. Don't put a stumbling block before the blind. Now, a stumbling block before the blind, Rashi tells us, means, based on, it's because of compelling reasons in the Pasuk, he doesn't tell us to read it literally. He tells us to read it actually figuratively, which means don't give somebody bad advice, meaning advice that's not good for them, but it's good for you. So the example he brings, which is an example from the Talmud, is sell me your field and I'll sell you my donkey, right? And the whole thing is really resting on the premise. It's like, how do people make business transactions like that? What do? So what they do is, this is business, right? Business is business, like people say. So what do? I go to my friend and I say, your back field, like, what's going on with your back field? Like, it doesn't seem to be producing anything. What's happening with it this season? Just like making conversation. So meanwhile, I've got a whole plan, but I say to him, what's going on with that back field? I passed by the land and it looks like it's a wreck. So he says, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't able to cultivate it this season, and the last couple seasons I was having issues with it, and I don't know. It's hard to irrigate back there. Now I know that back field has the kind of soil that it has, like, it's only going to be really, really good if you raise a certain kind of crop in it. And I happen to know, because I'm a mumcha in these things, what it is that you have to raise, or anything else you try to raise, it's not going to work well. But I know, because it's a certain kind of soil, that it's going to be good for a certain kind of crop. So actually, that back field is potentially a gold mine for me, because I know what could be raised there, potentially. He doesn't know. So I say to him, that backfield, like, when's the last time you actually got any money out of that backfield? It looks like it's just a money pit. You just keep throwing in resources. And then if your neighbor says, yeah, you're right, it's such a waste. I don't know, it's part of my land holding, but like, I can't really do much with it. So you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll take that backfield off your hand. And I want to make it like, worth your while. I have a donkey. She's like amazing. She's wonderful. She's worth a weight in gold. You know what? Just to be mefayes you, because I want you to come out with something that's really going to be useful for you. So you know what? I'll trade you my donkey. She's just amazing. I'll trade you the donkey for that backfield, which is so like worthless to you. Meanwhile, I've already like calculated out exactly what the ratio of my loss of my donkey, which is worth whatever it's lost, but it's so overwhelmed by the potential value that's in that field, which I'm going to know how to capitalize on. So he says, oh, thanks, thank you so much. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, it's such a waste, and I really do need a donkey. And so we trade. And that's called the Issur D'Oraisa of Lifnei Iver Lo Sitin Mechshol. That's called bad advice for the other guy, good business for me, right? So it's not good business. It's not called Masao Matan Ve'emunah. Masao Matan Ve'emunah means to do business in good faith, which means that I'm not exploiting anybody else, and I'm acting fairly with everybody, and I'm not overcharging people, and I'm not doing shady business, and all the stuff that like people will pass over being business is business. Business is business. Like, of course you're gonna look business. One of the main rules of business is buy low and sell high. No, there's actually a limit in halacha, like how much high you can sell beyond the market value, even if you have a customer coming in who doesn't really know what the market is. Like, how high is, like, even if the person will pay, what is the limit of what's considered to be a reasonable business practice where I might be making a profit, but I'm not exploiting the other person? There are limits. There are limits. And so these kinds of things are contingent upon emunah. One of the reasons why is because, like Rashi brings down over there, is the end of the pasuk, "Lifnei iver lo titein michshol," don't place a stumbling block before the blind, which means figuratively, you don't give somebody advice that's not good for, but you have ulterior motives because it's good for you. So the end of the pasuk over there is "V'yareitem elokecha," you shall fear your God. So Rashi brings down from the sages there that, these are things that are internal. Like, let's go back to our situation of the person with the field, right? So the next season, he trades away the donkey, he gets the field, and we'll say, next season, what does he do? He plants the stuff that he knows is going to take off like gangbusters. And then when his neighbor comes to him and says, "What did you do to the field? And I see that it's like amazing. I wish I had known. How did you know?" And it's also behind it in his thought. It's like, if you knew that my field could be so profitable, why didn't you tell me, right? Why'd you sucker me out of my field? So if I was being like, if the person who did the trade was not being honest, what would he say? He'd be like, I had no idea. I really thought that he's gonna lie. He's gonna say, I really didn't know, but I just happened to have seed of such and such stock, and I said, why not try? And look what happened. It really took. I had no way of knowing. I didn't know. Okay, so what's the dividing line? Like, what keeps a person from doing this act of giving of the business is business, but actually it's a violation of Torah law and Torah spirit, right? Is lack of Yiras Hashem. Exactly. It's like lacking emunah. So we talk about lasot be'emunah, right? What does it mean? To do masomatan be'emunah in its original context means not to cheat people. But how does one do that in business? Meaning, how do we not exploit and take advantage of other people? Like, really, what it comes down to is it's called doing it in good faith because you need good faith for that. To be able to run business in good faith means you have to have good faith. And the way Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter brings it down is he says it's called emuna b'hashgacha pratis, like really having faith in divine, in providence, because it's sort of like, if I'm supposed to earn this money, I'm going to earn this money. If I'm not supposed to earn this money, I'm not going to earn this money. And that's just the way it is. Like, I don't gain anything in the long term by doing something that is in even the slightest little violation of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's will. And that's called emuna b'hashgacha pratis. Al yedei she'odin umaminim. שהפרנסה אינה נמשכת על ידי סיבות של דרך הטבע. To be able to do business in good faith, you need good faith. And the good faith is knowing that parnasa, that one's livelihood doesn't come because of material cause and effect. Rather, it's happening b'hashgacha. It's just mitlabesh. It encloses itself in material cause and effect. Ki'im. Al yedei ratzon haborei yitbarach. Everything that happens, every penny that I have or don't have, right, is completely contingent on whatever is Hashem's will. If Hashem wanted, what would he do? He could send me parnasah without having to work at all, like Rabbi Shimon said. And the fact that Hashem put us into a situation where the vast majority of us, nearly all of us, have to do some kind of work in order to make a living. The whole purpose of this is just to test us, to keep us, to challenge us and help to refine our emunah. That means to say we're constantly, in the world of business, we're constantly beset with all different kinds of moral, ethical, and halachic challenges, which are all meant to be actual tests and challenges for us in order to be able to see how we do in the realm of cause and effect of derech hateva. How do we do with it? and also to test us not only about the particulars of the challenge, like am I violating, am I not violating, but also in general, like am I able to really keep clear that all of everything that I have is always contingent exactly on what's on Hashem? Okay. Tzedakah. Now we can see how from Masa Umatan Be'emunah or Masa Umatan Omlacha, that number 18, element number 18, is going to flow directly into number 19, which is giving charity, right? Because once a person does have the foundation of Masa Umatan Be'emunah really solid, and we know Parnasah is not about what it appears to be, because what you see is not what is. And so therefore tzedakah winds up being something that flows much more naturally. This is really related, the interrelationship between the two. Yudchet and Yutet are related to a lesson that we're learning on Monday nights, which is lesson 4 of the second section of Likutei Moharan. That the giving of tzedakah is like, this is the most important act, a physical demonstration of the fact that we are not materialists and we are not determinists. It means that we know that everything is happening only b'Ritzono Yitbarach. One reason why is because when it comes to money, on the surface, if you're only in the world of appearances, if you have 100 and you give away 10, what are you left with? 90, right? And in the realm of the spirit, if you have 100 and you give away 10, what do you have? What do you have? What you really have is the 10 that you gave away. That's one thing. The whole beginning of the business of the 90 is an illusion to begin with, because that's even, it's like not really, that doesn't really stay unless you find some way to eternalize it. It doesn't have permanent significance anyway. But the idea is that it's tzedakah, I can let it go, because I know that like this world belongs to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and what looks to be a limited amount of resources is actually tapped into the one who owns everything and who is everything and provides chayes constantly, and so nothing is lacking to him. And so if I give something, if I give away to the other, so I'm not actually losing anything, because all it means is it's a demonstration, it's the way that I demonstrate that I am not locked into the world of physical cause and effect, because I am clued into everything happening only in accordance with Hashem's will. If Hashem wants me to have the money, he's going to provide me the money. If he doesn't want me to have the money, he's not going to provide it for me. And whether I give away this 10 out of the 100 or I don't give away this 10 out of the 100, I'm not going to make a difference. Quite the contrary. Tzedakah, right? Aser kadesh titasher. Give the meiser, give the 10th, and you'll become ashir. Eser and ashir, right? It's from the same root in Hebrew. So the sages told us this is the one place where actually you're allowed to, in a mitzvah, you're allowed to sort of test God. But you don't lose by giving the tzedakah. Yafrish mikol minei shefesh yushpalo. One should separate out from whatever good abundance that has been provided for him. Ayidei kol ofen sheyeh lechonein ba kol yimnei razal, tahainu lachzik nechdei u'korovei hatzadik ha'oskim b'avodas Hashem Yisbarach. Now, when he talks about tzedakah, he's talking specifically, he's going to go into the specifics of where your tzedakah should go to. Not just in general to give tzedakah, but actually, he says you have to keep Rebbe Nachman's inyan going. That's one of his, Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter, one of his Seder Yom things. I don't know, give a donation to BRI, but plug for BRI. Or for anybody who's publishing the books, who is connected to the family, even. Yeah, among Breslover Hasidim, Rebbe Nachman had said that that Mashiach would come from his descendants. And so Breslover Hasidim traditionally took that very seriously and tried to make sure to be mechabed. He said, be mechabed my descendants. So Breslov Hasidim took this quite seriously to try and make sure to provide for the descendants of Rebbe Nachman, and also those who are close to him. That means to say to his Chassidim, and the people among his Chassidim, especially who are very, very busy in Avodas Hashem and who are really doing the work to the fullest extent of their abilities. V'gam lahat pis svarav, and also to publish the books. Shiuchlu lahafitzam b'Yisrael b'zol gadol, that they should be spread and shared cheaply among the Jewish people. Ulahachzakas batei midrashav, and to also support institutions where Rabbi Nachman's teachings are being taught and where his teachings are being learned. And so says Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter, even Breslov Hasidim a few generations ago, this is going back a little while, used to say that to study Rabbi Nachman's works was to be mitapel with a mace mitzvah. It's a very, very sad thing to say, but it meant nobody had anything to do with Breslov. Really. I mean, even when I was a kid, that was in the 80s. So who knew from Breslov? Rabbi Kaplan, Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, Zichron Livracha. So he started to work together with, Rabbi Tzvi Rosenfeld. I mean, here we are at BRI. Breslov campus is an endeavor of BRI, but all of this whole big edifice, and all of the books that were published and everything that was done was really ultimately going back far enough was at the initiative of Rebbe Rosenfeld, Zichron Livracha. That's Rabbi Kramer, Chaim Kramer's father-in-law, Nosson Maimon's father-in-law. And he made Talmidim. He had students in New York. He was a Breslover Chassid, and his family line in Breslov, Rav Tzvi Rosenfeld, goes back to Rebbe Nachman's, Rav Aaron, the Rav of Breslov, one of Rebbe Nachman's original students, who was the Posek Rav, the halachic decider of the town of Breslov. And his name was Rav Aaron Rosenfeld. And so that family line continued to stay close to Rebbe Nachman's inyan. They never fell away from it. And Rabbi Tzvi Rosenfeld's father was Yisrael Abba Rosenfeld. So there's a whole extended Rosenfeld family. They all come from the same line. They're all relatives and descendants from Aaron, the Rav of Breslov, Rav Aaron, the Rav of Breslov. Now, Rav Tzvi Rosenfeld, being in America, he was the first, I wouldn't say around the same time, but during the 50s, he started to teach an after-school Talmud Torah kind of program. And many people don't know, I just found this out recently, that he was the person who taught both Rav Meir Kahana and Rav Nachman Kahana. I believe he's still with us, and Yibad L'chaim Tovim. Prepared them both for their smicha tests to become rabbis. So, that was Rabbi Rosenfeld. Now, Rabbi Rosenfeld had students who were very connected to Rabbi Nachman's inyan, and one of whom is Rav Chaim Kramer, and another, he should live and be well, and Nosson Maimon, he should also live and be well, and they, Rav Chaim Kramer especially, threw himself into doing the publication of the books, and so for many years, the only English books you could find, pretty much, or any other language of Breslov books, was put out by Rav Chaim Kramer and Breslov Research Institute. Now, why am I telling you all this about BRI? Here you are, this is BRI. This is BRI 2.0, because that's what we're doing here, is the continued spread of Rebbe Nachman's teachings in a way that's accessible and available, so that people like yourselves should be able to continue to learn. Now, the wondrous thing about it is that to see how Breslov has exploded over the last 40 years is just totally wondrous. It's just, it's only people who are real diehards who understood when Rabbi Nachman said, "Mein fire wird brennen bis Mashiach kommt." My fire is going to burn until Mashiach comes. He knew what he was talking about, right? But I have to tell you that if you ask anybody who knew from Breslov Chassidus, we'll say right before the war, right after the war, the 50s, even the 60s, even to the 70s, such a small number of people. And then things started to develop, but it's mainly through publication. If you think about it, how are people supposed to know anything? How is Breslov supposed to perpetuate itself? It's only through publications, because otherwise people don't have an opportunity to come to know. So we have an internet, and we have lots of different opportunities, but it's really, I'm just perpetually amazed by what Hashem has done, because Meis Mitzvah means, Mitapel with a Meis Mitzvah means to bury a body that is a body that's not going to come to Jewish burial otherwise, and so you have to take care of it because nobody's around to do it. And so that's the way Breslover Hasidim many years ago used to talk about learning Rebbe Nachman's works. Is if we don't do it, who will? Because nobody in the world knows anything about this. So I'm just astounded, and I hope that you are also too. I'm very happy to be part of the NACE of this Tchias HaMesim, this resurrection of the dead that happened. Okay, so we go on. V'tov la'atchil lahafrish, al zeh al kol panim truma hainu 2% מהשפש שלו עד שיזכה להסיר כל נכסיו. And Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter says you should start right away to set aside 2% of one's income for such holy endeavors, which he means specifically, don't let Rebbe Nachman's flame go out, don't let it die out. Look what happened, let's think about Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter himself, Namash. Before the war, there was, even though there had been so much oppression after communism, but in Poland, there was, there was a Breslov community in Lublin and in Warsaw. And they were going, not, I wouldn't say super big, it's not gore, it's not small, but alive. And then Hitler, Yamach Shemo, came along and it was gone. I mean, Rabbi Yitzchok Breiter was murdered in Treblinka, along with all of them. Almost nobody survived. So the Polish Hasidim of Breslov gone. And then the Umner Hasidim under the thumb of Stalin also very, very difficult. And the few who managed to get to Eretz Yisrael, those were a remnant, and they were able to keep things going and to rebuild. And in America, we had a little bit of a remnant also, and they were also able to start over again. It was really from nothing. So he says, start with 2%, and then hopefully you'll have enough shefa, you'll be able to move forward until you're able to give 10%. That's what he says. Now, Hatfasat v'hafatzat sifrei Rabbeinu Zal v'da'ato ba'olam. Number 20. I think we should stop already, huh? Okay, I think what we're just going to do is do this last one, and then we'll stop. The publication and spreading, distribution of Rabbi Nachman's books and his consciousness throughout the world. Who? Ikar v'shorish gadol. This is a very, very important thing. Ki al yedei ze yuchlu kol beis Yisrael yizkarev l'derech ha'emes asher zeh tachlisenu v'tachlis kol ha'olamos. Via this pathway that Rabbi Nachman has provided with us, really have, this is the way to go. He has no doubts about it. He's not apologizing for it. He just says, this is derech haemes. And so the best thing you can possibly do is to share the wealth, share the ideas, share the das, share the consciousness with other people, and it helps each individual as well as the whole world. Rabbi Nachman said himself, Beni uvein Mashiach lo yeh chidush. Now, there's a few different ways of looking at this, but literally it means between me and Mashiach, there's not going to be anything new. One way of seeing this is that really, in essence, what Rabbi Nachman was saying was that there's no new, it doesn't mean that there's no new Torah ideas coming down to the world. It doesn't mean that. There's always new Torah ideas coming down. But that new game-changing Torah, new major shifts in ideas and in pathways in Avodah, that's not happening. What he gave is what we need until Mashiach comes. And that's actually something that the more we examine his work and the more we study his work, the more we find this to be true. Because in places where people are doing beautiful, good avodas Hashem, what are they doing? Even if they don't call it Breslov Chassidus, it doesn't matter. These are the very same tools that Rabbi Nachman taught over and over again. That's what we find. So, Beni uvein Mashiach lo yeh chidush. A little bit of a oral tradition history on this one is, he said, the only difference between me and Mashiach is me, they didn't listen to, and Mashiach, they listened to. Okay, לכן, צריכה העבודה הזאת להיות למקורבי הצדיק קודש קודשים, and therefore, this avoda has to be done by those who already have some degree of closeness to Rabbi Nachman's way of thinking. And we should really be involved in this, and everybody should be in some way or another. And one should always be seeking new pathways of practical pathways, how to continue to spread the word. You see how he's using that language, because that's what was told to the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh by the soul of Mashiach, to keep spread those well springs outward. They have to be spread outward. In order to be able to bring, lahashiv means to restore, and to give life to restore all of the souls of the Jewish people to their Father in heaven. It means to help everybody come back and do a proper teshuvah. Okay, I think we're going to stop here. We will continue B'ezrat Hashem next week and finish up. I hope we can manage it. I think we can. Hashem Ya'azor. Have a beautiful week. And a beautiful Chodesh. By the time I see you, it's already going to be Chodesh Adar. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, we should hear only and share good news, everything good. I have to, Yossi Katz asked me that when I shut down Mamish, so anybody who was writing in and I haven't seen it, please forgive me.